Hello everyone, welcome to the night stream of Art Lounge, part 10 of the project stream. I will be continuing the project that I was working on last night. Hopefully we can get even further. I do have a confession to make. I ended up working on it some more. So you're not getting the full process, but I couldn't help myself. I wanted to just develop it more. You know, I don't think an hour each day is really enough. In fact, it should be much more than that. So, without further ado, let's switch over to the project. Maybe you could spot the difference. If you can, that's really good. It's advantageous for you. That could work well for your own projects. But I did work a lot on the face again. I removed the nails. I worked on the hand a little bit more. And it was looking kind of weird and scraggly. Did some fixing here and there. I say it's still not enough. There's plenty more to go. Ooh, wrong color. Most of these are just very minute details, but they really do make a world of a difference. I've done work on the mouth as well. It's hard to tell, really. It's just because it's such a challenging angle. There's a part of me that thinks that this would have been a much better painting than a drawing. Just because I'm trying to establish the boundaries of everything, face features and such, based off of thin lines. Whereas with painting, you could just fill in the forms or the light as you see it exactly, which makes it a little bit less tedious than this. Oh, look at that. Pretzel is dropping some knowledge there.
And really enjoy the process as much as you can. And
Yep.
try to make the product as perfect as you can. Then you'll be able to rely on this thing for years to come.
Good job, Pretzel. Those are great points coming from this artist. Let's take a look. Who was that? We've Got Time Abstraction. Doesn't say who the artist is, but that's, I'm guessing, the group's name. Or the DJ's name. I'm actually very surprised by Pretzel, as much as I'm not enjoying this chat thing it does. Even though it's really not bad. I'm sure some of you would like to know at some point what some of this music is, because it isn't as bad as I thought it would be. I thought it would be a lot more generic and less professional work, but there's some really good tracks on here that I enjoy. Granted, some I don't, but for the most part, they're doing all right. This line right here on the nose, it's more of like an experiment for me. I think I'm gonna try to make that line with color as opposed to a line. It's just too defined. Whereas I don't think it really was like that. Might have to slim down this cheek as well. And she is a lot thinner than that cheek makes her look to be. The challenge of digital drawing, you have to either compromise the overall look, perspective, to be able to just kind of zoom out and look at it and draw from a distance and draw lines more frequently, or zoom in, draw less lines frequently, but not really know what the outcome of it is. That's why you guys are seeing a lot of this zooming in and out. And this is a very important detail right here too. This little swoop. It could mean the difference between her being chubby in the cheeks, or just naturally curving because it's at an angle. And you guys will see actually, like the bridge of the nose, how that drastically is going to change once color is involved. Because right now that gap looks really wide. But I think once color is added, it'll shrink the gap just because it'll give it more shape. I'm so hesitant to touch things. On the face is just because of this like very delicate process. I'm like, oh, if I make the wrong line, then I'm gonna ruin how close I got last night. Sometimes you just have to take that leap. It's just interesting how in the process you kind of battling all these like psychological blocks that you might have. You know, you don't want to sketch too loosely, because that's gonna give you lines that you don't have control over when you're first starting to draw. I mean, even now it's like, I don't want to be too loose about it, because I really do need a precise line. But sometimes you have to just do it so that you can become better at it and get the precise lines. Otherwise, you're just gonna always fall back to doing things slowly and just being at that pace indefinitely until you decide to like get over it and take those risks. It's just part of the excitement. I guess you're just always coming up across certain scenarios that certain hurdles that you have to get past, and then putting in all that time and effort and actually doing it is very rewarding. You're just like, yeah, I got over that mountain. I did it. It's part of the process. I do like that. And it's done at the comfort of being in your house, using all these tools that you enjoy using. And overcoming these obstacles. It is a mental thing as well. Like when some people think of like illustration, right? Like the most common thing they say, oh, it's like, it's a gift, it's a talent. It's not, it's something that just miraculously happens. You just, you know, you wave your pencil around, you draw this beautiful, skilled pieces. But it's not like that. And I think most other artists can agree that it is a mental thing. Like you are having a dialogue with yourself mentally as you're doing this. Like it's not coming out right. I'm gonna erase this. You know, that's not somebody else telling you that. That's you saying it in your head. It's just a lot quicker than actually saying it. Not dialogue, I mean. It's a lot quicker. I am starting to like draw her face more based on what I see, or rather the kind of impression that I'm getting from the image, more than, hey, how accurate is this line? You know, there's a difference there. Like one is heavily depending on the reference, and the other one is kind of working with it, but also using your own visual judgment to kind of like assess. What are you actually seeing? Like, is this actually a straight line? Or is there a slight curve to it? Or the kind of impression you get by looking at the reference? Does it look like there might be a slight curve to it or not? And rather following that exact line in the reference, you're just like, all right, I think it's kind of like this. And then just compare and see how close did you nail it. That's kind of where I'm at, because it's not a great reference. It's just too blurry. But because I like to challenge myself by working from like video and motion, just because it's your photography. Like, I snapped a photo of the music playing rather than using somebody else's photography. You know, it's just trying to make things as much authentically yours as possible. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with working with photos, just this is my personal goal. I still highly encourage people to use photos as references. You know, you want to build yourself up to a point where you're just drawing straight from the imagination. It's coming out great. And that just comes with a lot of practice. And in the meantime, just doing that works as well. And as I mentioned in like previous streams, I highly encourage beginners to use tracing paper and trace things so that you can train your hand to be more flexible. You can also train your eye to recognize certain details by drawing them over and over and over again, exactly as they are, and just training both of those abilities to your advantage, and eventually just challenge yourself by trying to draw them without the tracing paper, just side by side. And then the next challenge would be to do it without any reference. You know, just baby step it to a point where you don't need references as much. The challenge of the mouth. Still not looking right to me. Can't quite figure out what it is really. Maybe it's connecting this line right here. Does that help at all? No, does not. And I don't really want to bring the mouth closer to the nose, because there's a lot of shadow that's really bringing distance, whereas I'm not including the shadow right now. What a line, man. What a line. Can't get past it. Maybe better. If you guys could only see how every tiny little detail really affects the outcome for me in comparison to the reference. I think for me it's more about just making that one really skillful stroke to nail down somebody's likeness than it is about how hyper realistic you can get, you know, like how every single tiny little thing you can get down until you get an entire image. Like, not that I'm saying it's wrong or it's better or worse, but my personal goal is to get that down, to be able to just make that one line and you're just like, whoa, that did it. That really captured this person's likeness. Or it really captured the emotion. Not really digging this either. I think I could do better. I think that's also a very characteristic kind of line. That little bit of hair. There's a part of me that just wants to erase all that. Gonna do it. Just don't like it. Did spend some time on it, I just don't like it. I think I'm gonna leave it up to color to do it. And compositionally, just, I don't know, kind of throws it off for me. Okay, I think I'm ready to move on to other parts. Sometimes really zooming out kind of helps to show what your image looks like. Does it look kind of wonky? My eyes dart towards the face more than anything else. Something to do with her eyes and the gap between them. It's really bugging me. But again, I think that's really more of a shadow thing. Once I undo shadows, it might change. Maybe the angle of this as well. If I bring it down a lot. maybe that. Does that do anything? A lot of these soundtracks from Pretzel just keep reminding me of excuse me, and because it's so cold in my apartment, really it's the complete opposite. A lot of these soundtracks remind me of The Longest Journey, that game. You guys might have been part of that stream where I was talking about it. But it's a really cool, very old PC game. And I think they might have came out with like the other stories for consoles. But it's just this very cool adventure game. No shooting, none of that kind of thing. Just text-based. Like, it's very dialogue-driven puzzle game kind of a game. And I had so much fun playing it because the atmospheres were so great. You know, they were changing things up so well, and just in the cinematography in the game was excellent. And I really don't care for like shooter games at all whatsoever. They're just so boring. So I just opt in for games like that. And I mentioned Pillars of Eternity for those of you who haven't heard of it and are into Dungeons and Dragons. Highly recommend it. Great game. One of the best, probably, that I've ever played. Also, like, adventure driven, dialogue based, lots of reading. As well as a really fun short game, I wish it was much longer, called Machinarium. And the makers of that game actually made other ones that are just as good. So I highly recommend those, but Machinarium is probably the favorite one of them all. It's just overall so great. Great music, great characters, great puzzles, the illustration is beautiful. It's such a fun game. And the puzzles are difficult. It's not your average type quick play kind of game. There might have been like once or twice where I had to like figure out what's going on there and look it up. But for the most part, I really did stick to the challenge of trying to figure them out by myself. And it's well worth it because if you finish the game too quickly, then you're out. You know, you're out of that atmosphere, you're out of the characters, it's done. So like when you're cheating, you're kind of cheating yourself out of the entire experience of being in that game longer. So I don't recommend looking them up unless it gets extremely frustrating. But most of them just make sense. You're not going to come across one where it's just like, only the developers would know that. What? Like the way they made it, the puzzles and such. It's user friendly. far as the longest journey goes, that's a whole other thing. Some of them were challenging just because of graphics. You know, when you got old school graphics, sometimes you think something is a wall when really it's a door. I don't remember how many of those were in it. I don't think there was that many instances. Like, I can't remember really being that stuck where I was like, where the hell do I go? But I do remember the game crashing occasionally here and there because, yeah, it's an old school game. Compatibility issues, that sort of thing. So I kind of had to like work my way around it. Find emulators. Might have been an emulator that I played it off of. And that sometimes opens up a whole can of worms. But can of worms were well worth opening. It was a lot of fun. The only game, and I heavily avoided pretty much anything having to do with like shooting or any of that stuff, was the Assassin's Creed games. Those are incredible. I mean, the stories are amazing. I had so much fun playing those. And I look forward to getting myself more time to finish all of them. Like, I got as far as Origins, but the platform that I'm playing it on is just not, it's not good. I don't enjoy it. It just ruins the experience. I played all the other ones on it and they were great, but with Origins, it's just terrible. And that game really consumes my time. Like, I sit there and I read like every little thing about it, and before I know it, it's like midnight. And I didn't play the game at all, I was just reading. I think it would be cool if they had like some sort of integration, so you don't have to read it off the screen. Like, for instance, once you come across something that you need to read, like, you could connect, it connects to your iPad or something. So that way you could just sit and read off the iPad. But I spent hours on that. Like, I pretty much, I can't say which one was my favorite because they were all incredible. Like, I loved Ezio's stories. I loved exploring all the parts of Italy. And that's pretty much of what I did. A lot of it. Like, I was just going through, trying to find all the glitches and all the little side quests. I'm pretty sure I finished it all off at 100%. And interestingly enough, like, they all kind of play into everything that goes on, into the story, into the history. But yeah, as far as when it came to like fighting and all that other stuff, I was just like, let's get it over with. Let's just move on. It's so boring. And I think I went through a lot of them without using any weapons. Like I would just fist fight through through all of them that you needed to engage in that manner. I was just like, no, I'm not doing these ridiculous finish moves and all this other crap on there. But in order to attract more, I guess, they include that. I also remember the in Black Flag, the ship battles. Those are kind of fun. The ship battles were fun because you could always like rescue the people over there at the end of it, or it wasn't only about like bloody murder, you know, like it's just it was just cool to even just see that part of history. Interesting to understand more of it. I mean, they're so thorough, and they tap into things. Like the creators of the game, they just tap into things that you don't even read about in history. And then when you look it up, you're like, oh, whoa, that is so true. I think that's what like I was mostly fascinated by, is like how thorough they were with their historical knowledge, with like things like artifacts and statues and all that stuff. It's just to the T almost. It's incredible. If I got any listeners on here who are into the Assassin's Creed stories, post which one was your favorite. Which one did you like the most and what you like about it? The only ones I don't know much about is Assassin's Creed Origins and anything after, basically. I think there's like 3 more. There's like Valhalla. There's one right after Origins that I also have, but I'm not gonna play it until I get through Origins. I'm just gonna avoid all of them until probably gonna get it for like PS5 and just play it off of the PS5. Stream is coming to an end soon, ladies and gents. Still don't feel like I've done enough. also really enjoyed Unity. Assassin's Creed Unity was pretty cool. Where it's like the twins and you get to switch in between the twins. And each one of them has their own little story going on. Thought it was pretty fun. And just like the history of England. Because that's where it really all just kind of like exploded. And things started to like move towards the Americas. And I remember one of the most fascinating things about it was like the map and how like economically it was divided. You know, they had like the Wall Street area, they had the industrial area where all the like industrial work was done. There was like the church areas where it's like mainly religious places were. There was like the rich people's area, the really poor people's area, where it's just like burnt down houses and like chicken pox everywhere and all sorts of diseases everywhere. It was just like the entire structure just moved out from there and spread everywhere else. When it comes to like the Industrial Revolution, I think, yeah, that was the other thing about it, was that Unity was really about like the Industrial Revolution just exploding. And we had like all sorts of figures there as well, like Edgar Allan Poe was involved, and Karl Marx was there as well. And you get to like partake in their story and like figure out like what they were doing. It's pretty cool. I like that about all of them, actually. It's like there were all these historical figures, like in Ezio's, there was Leonardo da Vinci. And you were like his friend, basically. And you guys were creating plans and such for political affairs together. It's pretty cool. Really enjoyed that as well. And on that note, ladies and gents, I will have to end the stream. For the project stream, I will be back in 5 minutes. We can take a quick break for the coloring comics stream, where I'm going to be watercoloring John Buscema's work. So stick around for that. And you can always check back tomorrow, same time, same place, for the project stream. If you hit the subscribe button, if you hit the notification button, you will get notification when I'm going live, so you won't have to wait up. You'll get the jingle when I'm going live. And yeah, you could also check out the social media for other content. Twitter, I'm going to be posting a lot more text content there. Just, various updates and such. I will try to do that as well for other mediums, but I would like to move everything and funnel everything text-based to Twitter for now, until a better platform comes along, which hopefully sometime soon. So yeah, check those out as well. I will be making some updates to get you guys more involved with each other, with our lounge in general. So stick around for that as well. And yeah, I'll see you in 5 minutes. Whoa. That is very confusing. Sorry about that, guys.